Well, welcome everyone to Art 387. We are Contemporary Visual Arts and Culture. This is a great class. It's a challenging class, but it's one I like teaching, and it's one that students tend to be really surprised at about the things that they learn and how it changes their view on art and the art world. Each week I will be recording a video announcement. This is just one that will go over the class in general, and then you'll want to move on to the week one announcement that will be under the learning activities under week one, and we'll go over that in just a minute. So this announcement is going to go over the syllabus and any other important information about the course. These are important to watch because sometimes I give you more information than may just be written, or if you're somebody who is an auditory learner or a visual learner, these might help you to retain the information better. So before we dive into all of that information, I wanted to give you a little bit of a background on me. So my name is Emily Boss. This picture of me, it's a couple years old, but I don't look much different. I was born and raised in Orange County. I went to Villa Park High School. Then I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, where I did a degree in interior design. I've worked in the design industry for many years, on and off. I'm actually getting back into the design industry along with teaching. So I did that. I worked in LA and Orange County at different design firms, and but art was always a passion of mine, and I decided I wanted to continue my education, and I received a bachelor's degree in art history from Cal State Fullerton. After that, actually my last semester, right after my last semester of college, I got married, and this is my husband Johnny and I and our two dogs, Pip and Alfie, and we got married in 2009, and then a year and a half later we moved to England so I could do my master's degree, and I did my master's in art history, focusing in modern and contemporary art. So that's really my specialty, so that's why this class is right up my alley. And I went to the University of Nottingham. It was a really great experience, so we lived in England for a while. We moved back. My husband was on staff at Crossroads Christian Church in Corona as a worship leader, and I began teaching at both Cal Baptist and Cal State Fullerton, my alma mater. So I've been teaching for Cal Baptist for about 4.5 years now. The 3 visual arts courses that you find in the ops department, so art appreciation, the basic drawing class, and this class, Contemporary Visual Arts and Culture, are classes that I've designed. So if you want anyone to blame me. But I've really enjoyed working for Cal Baptist. It's a great place. I love these online classes. I try to be as interactive as I can and give a lot of visual aids, make them, keep them up to date. So I do hope that you enjoy this class. We actually now, getting back to my story, 2 years ago we moved to Nashville, Tennessee. So this picture you can see is in front of an old barn, just not far from our house. We love it out here in Nashville. It's very different than California. We were just in California. I was in Yosemite for a week, and down by the beach as well, and we were just amazed at the drought and how dry it is. And we came home yesterday, and it was just almost, color shock. It's so green and vibrant here, and we, not to rub it in, but we do love it. We're very happy here in the South. So do keep that in mind when you're communicating with me, that I'm in Central Time, so I'm 2 hours ahead of you here in Nashville, which means that if it's 8 p.m. and you're thinking of giving me a call or sending me an email or texting me, remember that it's 10 p.m. my time, and I probably won't be getting back to you until the next day. So that just gives you a little bit of who I am in a very small nutshell, just so you can put a face with the voice and with the name and the emails and the lectures and all that good stuff. I would love if you would all take a moment to post an announcement, and if you actually go, let's see, let me find where it is for you. Here we go. So I've entered student preview so that my Blackboard looks more like yours. And if you go here to tools, you'll find all this important information here, and there should be a link to discussion boards. So you can find this link here. You can also find this link if you go to the learning activities. I've included for you a link at the bottom to all the discussion boards, and you can click on that link, and you can go to introductions, and then you can create a thread and write us a little bit about who you are, just a quick introduction so that we can start to interact with each other These classes don't take place in a vacuum, although it's very easy to feel like you're just all alone in it. So I like to do this so that we can get to know each other, interact. You're going to be doing discussion boards throughout the class as well. So it's important to kind of get involved with each other. So let's go to the syllabus here. So here we are. This is the fall E1 session. So even though we're still in August, it's still very much summer here in Tennessee and still very much summer in California. We're considered fall here. So our course description, we are contemporary visual arts and culture. Again, this is a study of the causes and effects of the proliferation, which proliferation is just a big word for saying getting out there, how it's just saturated, that the world is very saturated with new media in the 21st century in Western society. We will be focusing on Western society mostly throughout this course. We will hint on non-Western society here and there, but in 8 weeks, we're just getting more theory and more of ideas in. This class explores postmodern theory. Again, sounds scary. We'll walk through it in baby steps. And a tactile or hands-on approach to the elements that make up the visual world, by exploring everything from advertising, television, film, digital image making, arts and crafts, social media, both public and private spaces, and of course, drawing, painting, all the classical mediums as well. This course considers the role of consumers, which we all are, creators, which we can all be, and critics, which we definitely are, of visual culture. And that's what we're going to be the most in this class, is we're going to be critics. And we're going to engage with a Christian worldview throughout some of the assignments as well of these cultural practices. Okay, so it's going to talk about online learning, all that good stuff. Remember, our classes they begin on a Monday and end on a Sunday. So Monday is day 1, Sunday is day 7. So make sure that you're logging in throughout the week and just checking in on things, checking your grades, checking for any emails, any announcements that I might send out, all that good stuff. So we want to make sure that we're actively participating, all of that. Okay. Here's my contact information. This is my personal number, so please use it with discretion. So again, calling me late at night or really early in the morning, let's try and avoid that. And to be honest, while I do appreciate phone calls and I like to get to talk to you guys, the best way and the way I prefer to communicate is through email. So my email, eboss@calbaptist.edu. And the reason is because it keeps a record. We have to use Lancer Mail, so you have to send me emails from your Lancer Mail account, and I will only send them to you from my Lancer Mail account. That way it maintains a record so that if there's anything that's ever lost in translation or that we need to go back and see what was said, we can do that. So it protects you and I from any miscommunications. If someone else from the university ever needs to look through and see those emails, they can, and they can kind of help problem solve if need be. I've never really come across any circumstances that's been necessary, but the university requires us to do that, and I think it's a pretty good idea. Since I'm out in Nashville, I don't have any office hours, so they're just by appointment online only. If you ever wanted to do a FaceTime or Skype session, I'm definitely willing to do that with you. So those, again, email's the best way to get a hold of me. I do my very best to get back to emails within 24 hours. Sometimes they fall through the cracks. I get a lot of emails. Sometimes I just miss it. I'm human. So if that happens, if I have not responded to you within 24 hours, just send me a follow-up email or a text and say, hey, I sent you an email. I just wanted to make sure that you received it. And then I'll, oh goodness, I missed that one, and I will make sure that I get back to you ASAP. So on the flip side, I do expect that if I'm emailing you about a question, even if it's something that you can't get to in 24 hours, just send me an email, say, hey, I got your email, Professor Boss. I'll be taking care of that as soon as I can, and I'll let you know. That's all common courtesy on both sides of the aisle. Okay, required text and resources. So you have a couple of books that you need for this class. Art books can be really expensive, and I understand that, and so I try my best to keep them at more moderately priced books. So this book, Looking at Art, even though it's a smaller paperback book, it can run a little expensive at times. The good thing is there's only one edition of this book, and it was in 2003. Go find a used copy on Amazon if you can, and it can be much cheaper that way. I'm not sure what it runs now. I believe it was around $60 when I started using it, and which seemed a lot for this book, but It is what it is. It's better than the $150, art appreciation textbooks that a lot of instructors use that are these massive books that they only get halfway through and students are spending all that money. So you're also going to need a book called Visual Culture. This book I know is only about 25 bucks, and you can find used copies on Amazon as well. We also are going to need Francis Schaeffer's Art and the Bible. So it's a collection of 2 essays, and we're going to be reading one of those essays. This I know you can buy for around, I think it's only like $8 new. I'm sure you could find it at a used bookstore for really cheap. So we should be well under $100 for all 3 of these books. There's also, and I believe I need to update the link here in the syllabus, but the link is updated in the learning activities where we do this reading assignment. So this is free. It's just a web link that you'll be able to follow. So again, don't follow the one here in the syllabus. Follow the one I believe it's in week 6 or week 7. Follow that link to find that. Okay, it's going to go over goals and objectives, all that good stuff. You can read through that on your own time. There's going to be an assignment overview. So this doesn't have details, super strict details and guidelines of these assignments. It's kind of more broad spectrum. So don't, again, follow these. Definitely look to the learning activities for the detailed instructions. Basically, we're going to be having these reflect assignments that are going to be journal entries. There's about 4 of them throughout the course. And these are just between you and I. These journals and also these discussion boards are the chance for you to get to really voice your opinion and to debate with other students as well, and sometimes with me, about different artworks and how we feel about them. So this is where we get to use that first-person narrative voice. We get to talk about I, me, my, I believe, I feel. You don't necessarily have to back up everything with, plenty of research, although I do expect you to give evidence from the materials that we're going to be using. So this is kind of one end of the spectrum, these reflect and discussions. Then we have these create assignments that are going to be, there's 4 of them as well, where you get to be a little more hands-on. There are written parts of these, but they will focus more on different types of mediums. So this mini art cyclopedia, this can be a little bit of a tedious assignment, but it's really important. It's going to help you to build your vocabulary so that we can learn to write about art, because there's no prereqs for this class, and I can't expect that you know anything about art. So we kind of have to build the foundation first before we dive into some of this more complicated material. We have a self-portrait project we're going to be doing. We're going to be making a collage. We're also going to be getting outside and making earth sculptures, so it should be at a really pretty time of year, hopefully in the fall. And then we have, of course, our writing assignments. We have some critical essays. These are kind of the opposite of those discussion boards and journals, where those get to be very free, very opinionated, very informal. These assignments are well-researched, they're formally written, and they're formally formatted. So we're going to be writing a theory application paper. We're going to be writing a film review, and then your capstone project is where we're going to be using Francis Schaeffer's Art and the Bible. Okay, we also have weekly quizzes. These are short, brief quizzes that are going to make sure that you're understanding the lecture material and the reading material for the week. You're allowed to use open book, open note, open lecture on these. You just have to complete them in one sitting. And so we'll go over all of these assignments, of course, in much more detail each week. Next, it's going to go over the course evaluation plan and the point distributions. So I will make sure that I have, rubrics for major assignments, so make sure that you take a look at those. And I should be letting you know of any changes and any points or any assignments, all that good stuff, as it comes. So this is how the points break down. Our class is out of 1,000 points. The only way that will change is if I cancel any assignments, which, if you're lucky, sometimes I pull assignments here and there to give you time to focus on some of the more major assignments. I can't guarantee it, but it's possible. We have a plus-minus grading system. I will say that at the end of the 8 weeks, if you're, say, riding on a B plus, where you're at, 89.2%, if you're within 1 percentage point of the next grade, if I look through your grade book and I notice you're not missing any assignments, that you've been communicating with me and that you've really been working hard, most likely I'm going to bump you up from that B plus to an A minus, or from that C minus to a C, or from that F to a D minus. Hopefully you won't be getting an F if you've been turning in all your assignments. I will say that the only students who ever fail my classes are the ones who don't submit work. I've never once had a student submit all of their work and still fail. So hopefully that makes you feel a little bit better. I tend to be gracious. If you work hard, I'm going to reward that. If you slack off, if you don't submit your work, and then you come to me week 8 and say, oh my gosh, what can I do? Do you have extra credit? I'm going to say, you know what? Sorry, you had the chance to submit these assignments for points, which would mean you probably wouldn't have failed. So, I'm gracious to a point, but I do expect you guys to manage your time well and to work hard here, because that's what college is about, and I did that, and it's a good learning experience. So make sure you're checking your grades often. Let me know if you have any questions. If I don't give you enough feedback, some assignments I don't give any feedback on, others I give a lot. But if there's ever any questions, you guys are your own advocates here, so you have to engage with me and let me know when you've got questions, and I'm more than happy. I love when students engage and ask me questions, because to me it shows that you're really interested and that you care. Okay, it's going to go over the learning activities week by week. This is subject to change. Most likely it won't, except if I pull assignments here and there, but due dates don't really ever change. All your assignments each week are due on Sundays at midnight, with the exception of the last week of class. So every other week, expect all your work Sunday, midnight. That's the last day of the week. That's when I expect things to get in. The only time that changes is during week 8. And it says capstone and project due day 4. I normally make this due day 5, which is Friday. So that last week on Friday is when you have your review quiz, your final reflection, and your big project due. And the reason they're due on Friday instead of on Sunday is because if you're familiar with our OPS program, the class ends on a Sunday night at midnight. That next day at 4 p.m. is when our final grades are submitted to the registrar's office, which means that we would have less than 24 hours from the time you submitted your final project to get everything graded, and that just doesn't really work so well. So I make, during that last week, things due on Friday. I make week 7 a lighter week for you so that you have more time to get that stuff in. So just keep that in mind now from the beginning. Don't forget that. And of course, I will make sure in each week's learning activities that I note all that stuff. Okay, it's going to talk about professionalism. I expect you to format your papers just like if you were printing them out and taking them to an instructor, which means most of the time they need to have a title page. They need to have your name on it. You'd be surprised at how many students don't even put their name on a paper. So just keep that in mind. Again, always think, if I was printing this out, how would it need to look? Make sure that you're formatting either to APA or MLA style guides. I prefer MLA because MLA is what we use in the humanities. APA is for a lot of other subjects that a lot of you are, I know, majoring in. And so because more of you are familiar with APA, I accept it. So the point is just pick a style guide and stick through it throughout that assignment. Make sure that you maintain that style and that you are formatting correctly. Okay, this is going to go over regular effective contact, which I already talked about. We try to get back to you within 24 hours. We try to get minor assignments graded within 72 hours and 1 week for major assignments. This is what I always tell students, is that I do my very best to get all of your week's work graded by the following Friday and back to you so that you have that weekend if you need to apply any feedback to the next week's work, if you need to make any changes. So that's always my goal. Sometimes I get it done earlier. Very rarely I get it done later, but I'll always let you know if that's the case. Late work. So there is a deduction of 10% of the total point value for each day that the assignment is late. So that seems pretty harsh, and it can be, but I do it for a reason, because I really want you guys to manage your time. Your stress levels will be lower if you manage your time well, I promise you. And you won't be getting behind in your coursework if you're not submitting work late. So all that being said, I am very gracious and I grant extensions often. However, I only grant extensions when you communicate with me before assignments are due. So if you let me know on Monday morning that, oh, I didn't submit this, sorry, or if, you tell me the next Tuesday or Wednesday when you submit it, sorry, this is what was going on, I couldn't get it in, or, I don't tend to have as much grace for those students, because you know what, now you've thrown off my schedule. I have very specific times that I sit to get grading done. When you submit late work, I have to then find new time in my schedule to grade that late work, and I consider that to be very inconsiderate. But if you've let me know ahead of time what's going on, then I can figure out when I'm going to sit down and get it done. And plus, it's just common courtesy to let me know what's going on. So I understand that life happens, that your kids get sick, that things happen at work, that cars break down, that emergencies just come up. Or, you know what, even if you email me and say, I have such a huge load of work this week that I'm just not going to be able to get through it. Can I please have an extra 24 hours or 48 hours to get this assignment in? And most likely I'll say, you bet. So just communicate with me ahead of time and you won't be facing that deduction, and I will most likely work something out with you. The other thing is, don't submit work to me on time that's 30% done or 50% done. I would rather that you email me and say, I'm really struggling, can I please have an extension, and get quality work in that you're going to be proud of, that is going to help you learn, than to submit something that just isn't really cutting it, that you're not proud of, that you know isn't going to get the job done. Okay, it's going to talk about netiquette, so read through that on your own time, just, the etiquette of how to behave in an online class. And academic honesty is the last thing, which I never thought I would have to go through with students. I would think it would just be a given that you don't plagiarize. You'd be surprised at how many students have copied and pasted right from Wikipedia and think I'm not going to catch it. Just don't do it. Sometimes I get kind of a sick pleasure out of catching plagiarism. So you don't want to fight me on that one. I will definitely catch it. Your major assignments are run through SafeAssign, which scans them for plagiarism anyway. So I'm not trying to freak you out. If you're using outside sources, which I completely expect you to, in fact, if you're not doing a lot of research and not using outside sources, then I'm going to wonder, what's up and why you're not really diving into this material. You just need to make sure that you're citing your sources well, and we'll be good. So, this is a really big deal. The university takes this very seriously. You can be kicked out of the class. You can just be given a 0. Or you can actually be kicked out of the program or the university for plagiarism. So don't do it. Last but not least, students with disabilities. If you have a documented disability and wish to arrange the appropriate accommodations, you can contact the coordinator of disability services at dss@calbaptist.edu, and they will make any arrangements that need to be made. Okay, I know that was a lot to get through. That was the syllabus. Really quickly, I'll just show you how the rest of the class is formatted. Learning activities, this is your bread and butter right here. This is where you're going to be spending 90% of your time in this class. So there's a writing styles presentation that I would like you to watch. Writing for the arts can be a little bit new and a little bit different, so there's a few rules that you'll want to be aware of, and just a few points that I like to give students that will help improve their writing. So make sure that you view that. There's an MLA and APA style guide, so if you're wondering how to cite sources in these or how to format your title page, all of that kind of stuff, there's links to those as well. And then there's a link to each week's learning activities where you're going to find all your assignments, your quizzes, any lectures, all that good stuff. So we'll just go week by week. Again, there's a link to the discussion boards at the bottom of the page, but anytime there's a discussion board, there will be a link in that week's learning activities. So that is our class. So what I expect you to do next is to dive into week 1, and I will have a shorter announcement. Each week's announcement will be shorter than these. I try to keep them around 10 to 12 minutes tops. Sometimes they'll be shorter. This one was longer just because we're going over the syllabus and all that good stuff. If you have any questions thus far, don't hesitate to send me an email, and I really look forward to working with you all.